Okay, welcome everybody back for the latest installment of the Academy of Shem and Aver. This is our 7th class, I believe, correct? This is our 7th class, and last week we really got involved heavily into sources. We counted up to 7 different academies of Shem and Aver. If my memory serves me correctly, we left off with a commentary that explained Jacob's tenure by Shem. Now, let's just jump back inside and pick up like nothing, no time went by, and we'll finish the full idea. Before we get into the text, let's go ahead and remind ourselves where these academies of learning are. Okay, we have Aver, not Shem, but Aver has his academy in Beersheba, the city of Beersheba. So now we have 1. And then you have Shem in Sfat, 1,000 feet from this class being recorded right now. That's 2. We have Jerusalem, the heavenly academy, where Jacob went there to the Temple Mount, and he dreamt about the angels going up and down on ladders. That's 3. Garden of Eden, 4. As we say that Isaac was brought to the yeshiva above, the academy above, where Shem was the head of the academy in Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. That's 4. Isaac's academies, a slightly different school of thought that we're going to explain later on today, what Isaac's academies were. That's 5. Outside the land of Israel, the offspring of Shem, into Ashur, his offspring Ashur, and the great city of Nineveh. If we all think back to the story of Jonah, and he fled to Nineveh, it's in about Syria, northern Iraq, ancient Babylon, which we're going to also explain in this commentary that we're going to read shortly. And that also, we were reading Jeremiah 2:6, that explained the entire world was filled with the academies of Shem and Aver, going back to Adam, where Adam had decreed that there would be academies of learning, which is the same language as settlement. So what constitutes the world as being settled? If it has academies of Shem and Aver in potential. That would make the 7 levels of academies going out from the land of Israel all the way throughout the entire world. To make a long story short, which we're going to explain this point more also, the Jewish nation is going to go into exile, and through exile they're going to extract the vessels of the Torah and in the format that we have it in today, basically through the academies of Shem and Aver through the world. This is a big topic. We're going to explore it more. Imagine that there's garments to the Torah, because that's really what the Torah of Moses is, on top of the levels of the Torah of Shem. Shem's Torah, and we're going to explain this also, that the Torah of Isaac versus the Torah of Shem, is that Isaac's Torah, just like Moses' Torah, is a garment. Shem's Torah is a little bit more organic. It's alive. It's not confined. It's without boundary. It's about the techniques of learning to arrive to truth. So by the time that Abraham comes and he formats the book of creation, which in Hebrew is called Sefer Yetzirah, there's already more of a formatted document. Whereas Shem's Torah is really not confined to document. It's more of the power of Torah as prayer, where Torah is a live mechanism that really speaks of the divine. Whereas Abraham's Torah is the book of creation, it's an encapsulation of how to relate to the divine. And Isaac's Torah is an extension of that. And ultimately, at Mount Sinai, Moses' Torah is the final hard copy of which contains all the wisdoms of the world, so that when the Jewish nation goes through exile, and in the land, out of the land, as we know there was Hanukkah, which we're coming up upon this week, was an exile in the land, but all the time, the Torah really picks up its perspective, its appearance, its format, its style, basically by going through all the avenues of the world, and these are called the sparks of holiness. And the Torah really accumulates these sparks that give it the taste and texture of Torah as we know it. So the Talmud is actually called the Talmud Bavli, the Babylonian Talmud. Because in Babylon, which, again, we're saying was a major infrastructure of Shem, the Torah of Ashur, that the Hebrew letters today themselves come from Shem through his offspring Ashur. So whenever the Torah went through exile, it picked up and extracted a key essential qualities, functions, through the various academies of Shem and Aver through the world. Now, the academies of Shem and Aver in the world are influencing the Torah in their own special, unique way. Now, there's two ways of being able to influence. There's face-to-face and back-to-back. If two people are speaking face-to-face, they can speak, blunt, they can speak direct, they can speak clearly. But there's another level of back-to-back. It's a level where I influence you and you influence me, but I never said I was going to influence you and you never said you were going to influence me. Imagine we're at a job together. And look, I don't know you, you don't know me, I'm going my way, you go your way. But for those 7 hours a day, you talk about this, you talk about that. I talk about this, I talk about that. And then you get on Facebook 20 years later, and you meet up with all your friends that you had, all through the course of your life, and you realize, wow, this person affected me this way, and this person affected me that way. This person taught me how to throw a football. All those key elements in life that you really don't attribute to face-to-face. Hi, my name is David. I'm going to teach you for the rest of your life how to throw a football today. No one does that. They just kind of pick it up. It rubs off on each other. So the academies of Shem and Aver, as the possibility of a face-to-face interaction in the world, yet it's not the only way to give over that Torah. So this is called derech eretz, or proper conduct. That by going through the world, and the manner of upholding the world through proper conduct, that those elements of the yeshivas, the academies of Shem and Aver, are bestowed and given over and influenced into the Torah, which make the Torah a vessel that it is today. Directly influenced from the world and the academies of Shem and Aver. Now again, this was the difference between the Torah of Isaac and Abraham as opposed to Shem. Shem's Torah really was not to be confined to vessels. Whereas Abraham and Isaac's Torah went on into the Jewish experience at Mount Sinai, the Torah became encapsulated in a encapsulation itself, or a garment. And that by having that garment established, when the Torah would travel throughout the entire world, which it's been everywhere in the world to this point in history, it's gathered all of the sparks and the elements of holiness to make the Torah understood. All the different languages and concepts and the 7 wisdoms of the world, all the elements of wisdom that were in the academies of Shem and Aver through the world, that's what makes the Torah into what it is. Therefore, what we have now is, again, let's go over the 7 academies of learning. We have Beersheba, where Jacob learned from Aver. That's 1. Tzfat, the north of Israel. Let's call it a more advanced learning of how to learn Torah. That was Shem's yeshiva proper. Then there's the Academy of Isaac, where Shem established the level of where the learning where there would be no decline. It would be an encapsulation of the level of scholarship of Shem. That was what was going on in Isaac's yeshiva, and that's why there was a garment, to keep it on a certain status. And then there's outside the land, Nineveh, and then there's Jerusalem, and then there's where Adam decreed where there would be a yeshiva in the world, or an academy in the world, and again, Garden of Eden above. And remember, when we started class today, I mentioned that there was something really special I wanted to teach this week, and I don't know if we're going to get to it today, but it's the level of Academy of Shem and Aver on the level of the Garden of Eden. We know that Shem went to the Garden of Eden, ate from the tree of life to get a healing mechanism for Noah, his father, when Noah was maimed in the ark by a lion. Shem there ate of the tree of life, and that level, I really hope we can get to it today, but if not, we'll get to it either next week or the week after. What that level of scholarship of yeshiva and the Garden of Eden of Shem really is on that level. So those are the 7 levels of academies of learning. Now, let's go inside the text and reacquaint ourselves with the text. Okay, this text is called the Marsha. It's a commentary to the Talmud, and we had the verse, Jacob went out from Beersheba to Haran, the city of Haran. So now we're going to explain how, in that verse, we hint to the different levels of Academy of Learning of Shem. I'm going to read it and translate it as I read, and we'll hear the different hints in the commentary that explain the different levels of Academy. Jacob was buried in the house of Aver for 14 years, which means not Shem. And remember, that was our innovation. That everyone says, Shem and Aver is basically just Shem. And there's just one Academy of Learning in the world. And it's really just not a big deal. But it is a big deal. And it's not just Shem. It's actually Shem and Aver and all the academies filling the world. So here you have Jacob first went and he buried himself, he hid himself away in the studies of how to learn Torah in the Academy of Aver for 14 years. And he went out from there. Now remember, in Hebrew, you can have the same spelling, which means totally different things. For example, father, Abba, can be I come. Aleph, I, and then the beit and the aleph of Abba, I come. So all the time in Hebrew, there's a natural built-in wisdom to the letters and the meanings that you can break words apart, and there's hints, and there's numerical values. And this is what you can use to extract the wisdom from the Hebrew language to really delve into the text of Torah. Because again, the Torah is written in Hebrew. So Jacob went out from there, and he came to him to the place of Aram, and he was found when he stood on the well. Now this explanation is very rich in symbolism, because the words explain one way, the simple meaning. Jacob, he went out from there, and he came to him to Aram, and he was found when he stood on the well. But look at the symbolism. From there can actually read and translate, he went out from Shem. So actually he learned by Shem and Aver. And he came to him to Aram, the other yeshiva or academy, by Ashur, by the house of Lavan, or in English you would say Laban, I believe, the father-in-law of Jacob. And he was found when he stood on the well, and the well is again a hint to Beersheba, that he was coming from Beersheba, which literally means the well of 7. Because when Abraham sealed the covenant with digging the wells, I believe he gave 7 ewes to seal the deal. And that's why it was called the Beersheba. The well of 7, or I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Otherwise, it could be the well of the oath, because 7 and oath, it comes from the same word in Hebrew. And there is to exact that if so, from the house of Aver Afterwards, he was there for 14 years. He went to Aram. And it was written, Jacob went out from Beersheba. That's what the Torah says, that Jacob went out from Beersheba, and he went to Haran. And we say in the Talmud, emphasizing this point, and he returned to the place, and he prayed by the place of his forefathers, the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. So when he left Beersheba, did he go to the Temple Mount? Did he go to Haran? Did he go to Lavan in Aram? Okay. And the ladder was standing in Beersheba, the ladder of Jacob's dream, right? It reached the heavens on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, but it extended to Beersheba. And from all this we prove that from Beersheba, the academy of Aver, he went to Haran, and not from Beersheba to the house of Aver. Why? Because he was learning by Aver for 14 years in Beersheba. And after 14 years, he went to Haran. And there is to answer that the house of Aver also was in Beersheba, and he didn't go at all from Beersheba to the house of Aver. Why? Again, because Aver was in Beersheba already, and Jacob went out from Beersheba. Rather that he was hidden in the house of Aver and Beersheba because of the fear of his brother until 14 years went by, and he went from there to Haran. Again, from there can be he went from Shem, which is Sfat, to Haran. And furthermore, it's not enough that there is the hint that in the word Beersheba there is the letters of Aver, right? We said the beginning and end letters of the verse hints at the word Aver in the spelling. And the word Arba for 4, which represents 14. And furthermore, we say that Isaac, his father, also had a study hall or academy in Beersheba. As it says, Isaac was an elder who sat in the academy of learning. Zakin Yoshev Beyeshiva. Isaac was an elder who sat in the academies of learning. Abraham was also called on this level. And all three academies of Shem and of Aver and of Isaac were in Beersheba, and they are hinted at in the words from Beersheba. It contains the letters of Shem, Aver, and Av, which is father. So when it says Jacob went out from Beersheba, hinted at those words, in those words is Aver and Shem, and the father being Isaac. Okay, that is a commentary to the beginning of the verse in the Torah, Vayetze, when Jacob left, after Parshas Toldos, when Jacob left Isaac to get the brachas, the blessings from Isaac, over and above beyond that of Esav. Jacob had to flee, so the Torah portion starts off, Jacob left, he went out from Beersheba to Haran. And now, to summarize, how do we understand that? He left the academy of Aver. He went to the academy of Shem. That's 2. He went outside the land to Ashur. That's 3. He had experienced the academy of Isaac. 4. He went to Jerusalem and prayed. 5. He experienced the Torah of the Garden of Eden, which we will get to at some point. 6. And the entire world was on the level of the academies of Shem and Aver. Jacob never died. Thus the seed of Jacob would merit the Torah, would travel through the world, picking up the sparks of holiness throughout the entire world, which is predicated on the academies of learning of Shem and Aver. Okay, we have now basically finished explaining the 7 levels of academy of learning of Shem and Aver in the text. Now, this commentary says something rather interesting. It explained that Jacob had a fear of his brother. Now, there's the literal understanding that he feared his brother, but there's also another very essential understanding here. Esav had learned the secrets of the Torah from Isaac, his father. And we have been saying that Shem really recruited Jacob for his yeshiva academy more than Esav. Esav had prided himself on his superior Torah learning. At least in his own eyes, it was superior. We know that Esav had really talked the talk and pretended to walk the walk with Isaac, his father. That Isaac had the academy, remember, of learning the Torah kind of in a more garmented fashion. So Esav knew how to talk Torah without really being invested with the Torah. And that's what Shem's academy really was about. Shem's academy is about learning how to learn. Learning how to have the basics. Learning how to identify God. Learning how to do what the Torah wants to do. Whereas Isaac's Torah is about learning. Not so much interested in that, it's really not interested in you. It's assuming that you already know how to learn. And if you already know how to learn, then you're already just learning. Now, that sounds like that Isaac's academy is more preferred. But not so. Shem's academy, if you don't know how to learn and you don't learn the basics, and you're not really meriting the Torah on, let's say, Isaac's academy level, which Shem learned it on that was Shem's Torah also. But Shem was concerned that you learn how to learn. That you learn how to learn Hebrew, you learn how to read, you learn everything. That's why Shem was a craftsman. When he built the ark with Noah, he was really investing the craft in learning. We said in the commentary a couple weeks ago that Shem had the craft of learning. Isaac learned from Shem also. But in Isaac's academy, it's assumed that you already know how to learn, or B, you're not really concerned with learning how to learn. You just want to hear an interesting Torah lesson for the day. So Esav comes along, and he really assumes, well, obviously I know how to learn everything. Why wouldn't I know how to learn everything? I'm the son of Isaac. Jacob is an ish tam. He's a simple, wholesome man. A man of faith. So Jacob then enrolls by Shem. Shem wants Jacob because Jacob, in the eyes of Shem, is going to merit the 12 tribes to be a nation of priests, to guard the Torah, to take the Torah throughout the entire world, so that through Jacob's government, let's say, of Torah, the Torah of Shem will be successful and will reach its conclusion in the end of days. This is why Jacob learned the tradition of the end of days before he died. Now, Isaac and Esav is a bit of a different story. Esav assumes that he knows everything already. And arrogance is a very funny thing. This is basically how arrogance works. I already know. You can't tell me anything. I know more than you. That's Esav. Jacob comes along and says, he's compared to the simple son on Passover. There's the 4 sons in Passover. There's the righteous son, the wise son, the simple son, the evil son, and the one that doesn't know how to ask. Each son asks his father, why is this night different from all the other nights? And each son says a different thing. So the simple son says, what is Passover? And the people want to say that the simple son really doesn't have much intellect and he doesn't know what's going on. But that's not true. Because if you really want to pick up what somebody's doing, you need to ask with a wholesome innocence to your approach. Let's say you're a football coach. And let's say you're Bill Belichick, the coach of the New England Patriots, and you just won 2 Super Bowls. And he goes and asks another coach, he says, so tell me, what offensive formation are you guys running this week? Now, he very well might know. But if you just come across as saying, oh, I know everything about you, I know what you're doing, and I think this, you're not really creating the avenue of learning. You're just implementing on somebody else or imposing what you already know to be. So Jacob's approach is, I know what I think Passover is, but tell me, what do you think it is? And by listening objectively, you can really extract from that person their perspective and their wisdom. This is the level of Jacob. in terms of Shem. Jacob wanted to probe from Shem, learn from Shem, and really get the essence of Shem's Torah into his own. Whereas Esav represents the wicked son. I know everything, I already know, just let's go on, I'll tell you how much I know. So for Isaac's academy, it might look good to flex your muscles and show how much you know. But it's easy to be fooled on that level. Because the very nature of Isaac's academy is we're talking about how much we know. Whereas Shem's academy is, you might know everything, but we still learn from the ground up, the basics and the foundation. Because everybody influences everyone and everyone learns at exponential rate because I don't necessarily know what you know. And you might not know what I know. So when we work together innocently and wholesome, then we can really come to a nice understanding. So when somebody says, tell me, what is this that you're doing? They might well know. But to learn from your perspective and your tools and your vessels, then I can learn and extract from you. And that's how Jacob was able to take over the vessels of Shem. Because Shem was able to give over, with kindness, the tools and ability to learn into Jacob. Jacob took those tools and essentially gave them over to the 12 tribes, which will become the Sinai experience. And in the Sinai experience, Shem was actually there as he went to die at Mount Sinai, where he stood for 1,300 years after offering the Torah for 400 years, of which only Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob found the keys to really continue Shem's mission on a non-descending level. So at the Sinai experience, at the revelation of Mount Sinai, the Torah would be kept on the level of Shem, and the garment that Shem's Torah would succeed just like Shem had taught it. And yet it had the garment and the vessels like Isaac's Torah. It was a miraculous Torah event, Mount Sinai. It really took the vessels and garment of Isaac and Abraham's Torah, as being different from Shem's Torah in that respect, but it contained the elements of Shem's Torah completely. So again, Isaac and Esav's going to say, essentially, I reject Shem's Torah. I only want to sound high and elevated like Isaac's Torah. But Isaac's Torah wasn't necessarily high and elevated. It's assuming that you understand Shem's Torah is inside. But if you don't, it's as if. What's it? Do you hear me? Okay. Lost my train of thought. Let me get back on track here. Isaac's Torah. If you don't acknowledge where you learned it from, it's like plagiarism. I can go over the internet, copy and paste a Wall Street Journal article, erase the name, put my name on, and I can give it over and read it just like it's my own. And nobody would know. Right? I talked about finances and percentage rates and everything. And I say, Rabbi David Katz, world-renowned expert in economics and finance, on his Torah blog, writes in a tremendous article, Wall Street Journal newsworthy. Wow, way to go, Rabbi Katz. So, and then I can explain the article, because I read it. You know, I'm interested in these things. I read it over, and I can give it over. There's Esav in Isaac's academy. He didn't tell where he learned it from, just everything was his own. And Isaac is poetry to his ears. I mean, my real brother is an investor for HSBC. So imagine if I talked to him all this business talk. He doesn't care where I got it from. He would say, wow, that's a really interesting perspective you have. I didn't know you were so knowledgeable. I can say, yeah, I read up on it. But if I don't say I read up on it, I say, yeah, I think a lot about these things. And he's not interested enough in me to really care where I got it from. So that's really Isaac and Esau's relationship in Torah. Again, Jacob's idea is there's no need to plagiarize. There's no need to steal. You might as well learn from the ground up. So when Jacob goes into the academy of Isaac, his father, he's holding par, but he did the hard work. Shem's Torah is predicated on the hard work. So now we're back to the beginning. Jacob left Beersheba, the academy of Aver and Shem. He was afraid of his brother. His brother, Jacob knew what Esau was doing in terms of talking high in Torah just for the sake... Wait. What's going on with the sound? Okay. Are we okay with sound? Just tell me what I should do. I'm hearing echoing. I'm just going to turn my volume down. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna turn my volume down so I cannot hear you guys. Okay. Okay. Esau has superiority in learning from a arrogant point of view. Jacob understands this. There's no need to trash his brother to his father Isaac and speak slander against his brother. It doesn't really solve or create any better situation. It's just going to create more animosity and more fighting and more war. So the idea is that in Torah, the oral Torah is called really under the terms of war. King David was called a man of war, an ish milchama. And the terminology of a man of war of King David's level was that he went to war over the oral Torah. Thus, Esau is pretentious in his oral Torah ability, which really was what Shem is identified as the most. And Jacob is intimidated to a certain level because Esau can talk the talk, but until Jacob has learned the tradition, there's not much you can say. You might see somebody in the highest class that doesn't really portray themselves nicely, but if they are talking a language that you don't understand, it really doesn't make sense to talk against them, even though they might not be a nice person. So Jacob has to go the long route and really learn the ground up so that he can hold his head high. The side note, why is the oral Torah essential to Shem? As the oral Torah tradition was given over to the son of Ashur in the city of Nineveh, that Ezra, when the Jews came back to the land of Israel in the time of the Second Temple, he gave the Torah over in the script that we know it of today, which is called Ashurit. Every Hebrew script you see today is called Ashurit. So when Ezra was supposedly on the level that he could have given the Torah to the Jewish people, so when he gave it over in the script of Ashurit, he essentially gave over the tradition of Shem in the language of Shem. Because if you look on an old shekel coin, or a shekel coin today that has the chicken scratch script on it, that's called Ivri, the ancient Hebrew. But the more spiritual Hebrew is called Ashurit. And that was the oral Torah level, the wisdom of Shem. So when Ezra delivered the Torah in its final version, again, remember what we said, that the Jewish nation went through exile to pick up sparks of holiness and to really make the Torah whole. So that by going through the first exile of Persia and Babylon, and they came back to the land of Israel in the second temple time period, this was an opportunity to deliver the script wisdom and Torah and oral Torah of Shem into the Jewish nation and the Torah that existed by the very tradition that Shem had established through where the Jews were going to go through exile. Thus, Esav was somewhat of a master of deception, of appearing to know this already. Again, we can really internalize this with the internet today. I guarantee everyone in this chat room could go right now to a cricket website, the sport cricket. And if we all gave, let's say, 2 hours to learn about cricket, and we all meet back here, and we all discuss cricket, there's no Torah, and we're not talking anything else but cricket, I guarantee you we would all have what to say. Oh, the pitch and the throw and the bat, whatever you call the bat and the close, we would sound somewhat knowledgeable. If we could all just invest 2 hours of time, we could sound like master cricket players. That's really essentially the level of Esav. He mastered the schmooze, talking the talk. And that's what Jacob feared. He feared that Esav just knew more in the manner of the oral Torah. So Jacob learns from the ground up. And that is only accomplished through the Torah of Shem and Aver. The Torah we have today is predicated on that. If there's arrogance today, you are out. When there is wholesome and innocence and interest in learning the skills and craft of the Torah, that's when we connect back to those sparks of Shem, and we can really learn the wisdom in the garmented Torah that we have today. Okay. That's pretty much everything on the 7 academies and Isaac and Jacob and Esav and Shem. Shem having chosen Jacob to be the recipient of the Torah of Shem. That Shem really, what he did was, when he waited for Abraham to appear, he suppressed his own seed, kind of a binding of Isaac and Cain for Shem. Shem said, I'm going to suppress my own seed, and I'm going to wait for the land to produce an Abraham. It just has to. It's like if you water the ground, and you will know that the ground is fertile, and you know that there's going to be a sprout, and you sit back, you water your lawn every day, and you wait for that sprout. Shem waited for Abraham. There must be an Abraham. It's just the way of the world, the derech eretz, the proper way of the world, there's going to be an Abraham. Abraham's going to accept the Torah of Shem. The hard work, the one God, the craftsmanship of Torah, everything that Shem had to offer, there's going to be somebody to take it and to deliver it to his son. There's going to be an Isaac. Isaac is going to have an academy. There's going to be a war between Esav and Jacob. I know everything because my father is Isaac and his father is Abraham and he learned from Shem. Or, who says I know anything? I have to really learn how to know so that I can counter those that claim to know. I mean, you really can't argue with somebody if you don't know anything. So Jacob learns innocently in the bottom up, and he rises to the level of where Esav had basically pretended to be holding. But the difference was that Jacob had learned from the bottom up, and Esav didn't learn from the bottom up, and that's why Shem had chosen Jacob to be the one to basically have the tradition of the Torah, that when the 12 tribes would come down, the Torah of Shem would fit inside seamlessly. There would be then a Mount Sinai experience of which Shem now could go to die. For 1,300 years he went to die at Mount Sinai. And eventually, King Solomon's going to come and release Shem from his petrification at Mount Sinai. And the body will be buried in the academy of Shem and Aver in the holy city of Sfat, 1,000 feet from this broadcast right now. And therefore, Shem is going to ascend in the soul level to a higher world where he will function. And I really want to bring that in to this lesson. Next week we'll go into what the other stuff I'd prepared. So let's just go into this now. I want to bring this in. I wanted to bring this in, and we're going to bring it in. Okay, let's go back in time a little bit. We understand how Shem he's the spiritual father of Jacob. Jacob is going to give over that message to the 12 tribes. It's going to garner a Mount Sinai revelation of Torah, as the Jewish nation was a kingdom of priests who are charged with the preservation of the level of the Torah of Shem. Actually, before I go to the new stuff, I want to explain one more point. Yeah, this is a nice point. Let's bring this in now. There's a mitzvah or commandment in the Torah of sending the mother bird. It's called Meshluach Hakan. Sending the mother bird. It's not called Meshluach Hakan. I forget the Hebrew word exactly, but it means to shoo the mother bird. I can look it up if I have time. It's sending the mother bird off the nest. You take the eggs of the mother bird, and it's a commandment in the Torah, and there's a certain benefit of doing as such. Shem really functions as this mother bird. Shem comes off the ark, and the task is really a twofold task. There is to maintain order in the world, the 7 laws of Noah, which essentially do maintain the world. And the 8th commandment of circumcision to those that come from Bnei Keturah, the sons of Keturah, that keep the circumcision going back to Ishmael and Abraham. Now there's the maintaining of the world, but there's also Torah, and both are essential. You have to have both. The world must continue, there must be Torah learning, and it's like an intertwined rope, a perfect braid. The world's being established, and Shem understands the world will go on with the 7 laws. And the academies of Shem and Aver are all over the world, basically upholding these 7 laws. They might not do it, again, face to face, with intention, I am upholding 7 laws. But yet the back-to-back perspective might be there of this is just what we do. You see, the world has continued to exist. It's not destroyed. There's a level of success of basically Noah and his sons coming off the ark. We're still here. And B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to witness a redemption in the end of days. Now, what about the Torah? The Torah also has to exist. For the end of days, there must be that preserved level of Torah of Shem, on the same caliber and without loss or decay as Shem had given over. The way to do this is, Shem says, there must be an Abraham to accept the Torah. From me, he says. And Abraham's going to have an Isaac, there's going to be a Jacob, there's going to be 12 tribes, there's going to be a Mount Sinai revelation, where Shem is there waiting for 1,300 years, beyond to the time of King Solomon. King Solomon is a Ben David, a son of David. The redemption is guaranteed through David. The Torah will live, and the world will endure. So what does Shem do, essentially? Shem is guaranteed that there's going to be a nation of Torah to give over to the world when the world has reached its final rectification. The academies of Shem and Aver are flourishing and ready and prepared, ready to receive that Torah as it's gone. The Torah has gone through the world, gaining the vessels and garments of those academies of Shem and Aver. Again, if not face to face, at least by a influence, whether it's called onus in Hebrew, a duress onus, meaning whether you like it or not, you're being influenced. When the Torah went through Babylon and Persia, we came back with the Babylonian Talmud and the script of Shem. Did they do it intentionally? Maybe, maybe not, but yet we have the influence of the academies of that place. So just like the way of life, anybody that has a parent, you grow up and you move on, you move out of your parents' house, and you forget about your parents. Only as you get older and you mature, you start to appreciate your parents and where you come from. And this is very much like Jacob and Shem. The Jewish people went through exile, through the 4 different exiles of Babylon, of Persia, of Greece, of Rome, and we're coming out of exile, and look who's here. Look who's here. You have a Jewish nation of Torah, and you have the Noahites who are right there, side by side, with the brotherhood. The Torah is not the same as it was thousands of years ago. It's the same Torah, but look at the vessels and garments it's taken on. We've come through exile through the whole world. Through the whole world, and now it's translated to every language. It can be conveyed by analogy, concept, culture, experience, friendship. The Torah is malleable. It can be given over in so many different ways. Now, if the Torah would have sat in a little, let's say Isaac's Academy, never went through the world, no one's going to be able to learn that Torah. So Shem basically loads through all the different academies through the world, and the Torah was given to Moses at Mount Sinai perfectly to attract and contain all the different elements of the world. So can a person in Kenya understand the Torah? Yes. The Torah, as it was given to Moses, contains possibility and conceptual relativity that even a person in Kenya, Australia, Antarctica, if there are people down there, can take part and enjoy the Torah. And Shem is the one that saw we're going to have 2 basic environments. The world must endure. The world must have a Torah going through time, through the next X amount of years, so that when the world unites and comes together, basically through the Torah going through the world, that the world can relate to the Torah, then we're going to have one Torah given over to the entire world. Thus, Shem was basically forgotten on a certain level. The Jewish people got involved in the Jewish people. But coming out of exile now, we're hoping this is the end of the exile, and look what we find. Is that the Torah of Shem was there the whole time. And it was the influence and backbone to the whole endeavor. And Shem really understood the Torah would be on this level of Shem. It would never decay. And the test of time is that after thousands of years, we come out the end of a long tunnel, and we can look back and say, Shem actually was there behind both nations the entire time. So there was a nation of Noahide to really maintain the world, keep it going, and keep Shem alive. There had to be a nation keeping Shem himself alive. And there had to be a nation keeping the Torah alive. And when the two come together, you have the concept like of a Cohen, a priest, and a Levi, the helper of the Cohen. But the Levi is not just a helper of a Cohen, he's a proper entity by himself. This goes back to the brotherhood of Cain and Abel. Cain was the original, let's say, Levi, and Abel was the original priest. And they really had to work in tandem with their offerings to Hashem. And they didn't understand their relationship. It was so primal. How the relationship worked, one died. And we're still rectifying that sin today. Why Abel was arrogant, why Cain didn't understand and killed Abel, all the different stories we can put in there. But in the end of days, when the world really is purified, and the Torah went through the entire world, through all the academies of Shem and Aver, and the Torah is ready and prime, then you can find that the letter Shin has 3 branches, which stands for priest, Levi, and Israel. Yet on a man's tefillin, the garment, the religious garment he wears on his head, there's a 4th arm to the Shin, which stands for the righteous converts. In the Vilna Gaon, a rabbi explains that the converts don't have a house. There's the house of the priest, house of the Levi, the house of Israel, but the converts don't have a house. Why? They just fear God. Now, why are we mentioning the convert? Because the convert, we have to go through exile to bring out the converts from the world, but by going through the world looking for converts that want to come into the Jewish nation, what do you find? You find the Noahide nation that way as well. And the Noahide nation is connected to the Jewish people when they go out through the world. We connect the Torah of the land of Israel to the Torah of the land of the world. It all comes together. And on that level, the connection is the terminology in Hebrew. Levi means lova. Lova means to connect. Thus, the Noahide really is connected. So when the Torah goes out, the Jews are in exile going out. So where's that missing house of the convert? The Noahide. The Noahide comes from the house of Shem, the house of Noah. Thus you have a proper, full functioning body in the world. Every element of the Torah exists. There's the priest, there's the Levi, there's the regular Jew, there's the righteous convert, and the Noahides connect. Like the white parchment inside each one of those branches of the shin. There's the black ink that makes the shin, and the white parchment inside, making one whole. Why is there a 4-armed shin and a 3-armed shin, letter shin, and the tefillin? Because the 4-armed shin comes from the white parchment that goes around the 3 branches. Imagine one shin right side up, and another shin upside down, coming inside, like 2 hands folding fingers. Then the 3-arm reveals the 4th arm. The white parchment is the Noahide surrounded, intermingled around the shin, which represents the Torah. Thus, they are connected intrinsically. And it goes back to Shem. The maintaining of the world, the Torah's preservation in the world, the two working together to give over the vessels and the garments that the Torah should flourish in basically one common language. It's prophesied that the Torah will be spoken in a clear tongue in those days. Hashem will be one and His name will be one. Shem's Torah through the world, through the academies, make that possible. And it's only made possible when there's a tradition of maintaining the world and a tradition of maintaining the level of the scholarship of Shem's Torah. And that was the revelation of Mount Sinai. And therefore, we're all attached to the revelation of Sinai, because what it is it's a Torah that we can learn. It's a Torah we can learn how to learn. It's a Torah we can all take part of. And it's a Torah that is preserved on the academies of Shem and Aver. That all the wisdoms of the world can come inside. When the two nations come together, that is essentially the rectification of Cain and Abel. Now, we're going to finish today with a slight point that I was mentioning a couple times. And we're not going to exhaust the concept here. We're just going to introduce it. Okay, now that we were supposed to go back in time, we actually went forward in time. Let's go back to Melchizedek. Shem is Melchizedek. He's at Mount Sinai. Or not Mount Sinai. He's at the Temple Mount with Abraham. Abraham's going to rescue Lot. The 4 kings are defeated by Abraham. Abraham blesses Shem. Shem blesses Abraham. Shem blesses God. Abraham gives tithing to Shem. There's something wrong with this picture. And the answer of what is wrong to this picture is, why does Abraham bless Shem first? And the answer is, this is going to be the entire topic next week. But before we finish, let's just introduce it. The Torah tells us that Shem is a priest to God above. What does it mean Shem is a priest to God above? In Hebrew, there's something called an infinitive. I am going to the store to buy food. I pitch for the Yankees, therefore I'm going to pitch the ball. I am going to eat a meal. To eat, to pitch, to throw, to buy. And in foreign language, in English, it doesn't really work this way. There's something called the infinitive. To buy, to go, to this, to that. So when we say that Melchizedek, Shem, is a priest to God above, Shem has the ability to really understand the names of God. And he can invoke God. Remember we said that the body of Shem is buried in Israel, in the academy in Shem and Aver, 1,000 feet from here. Yet the soul of Shem is the head of the academy in the Garden of Eden above. Remember we said that about an hour ago? That in the Garden of Eden above, in the priestly world of emanation, Shem endures. And it's there that we say he's a priest to God above. That Shem really learns the Torah on that level as names of God. We know the Torah is one name of God. And Shem's Torah is the Torah. So Shem understands the name of God. Is that really such a surprise? Shem's name means Shem. It means name. Shem means name. Shem is a master of names. Thus, he is a priest to God above. A Kohen Lekel Elyon. He is a priest to God above. Now, we're going to break this down to 3 stanzas, and now we're running, and we're going to stop running in about 2 minutes, and next week we'll pick up where we began to run today. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. What, why, and where? And the answer is a priest to God and above. What is Shem? What is Melchizedek? What is Shem? Well, he's a priest. Why? Why is he a priest? To God. What is the cause of a priest? He is a priest to God. To invoke the names of God. To learn Torah and stress divinity. When we pray, what do? When we pray every day, we address God. Shem's job as the priest is to address God. To make God's presence known in the world. And the power of a righteous person can invoke godly attributes to basically ask God to intervene. There's a decree, a harsh decree. We say Hashem, God. We pray to God that the decree should be overthrown. You don't say, hey you, I really think this should stop. You say Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whatever you say, and you ask, do the people need to die? Does this need to happen? So Shem is a priest to God above. He basically makes, through Torah study and the usage of God's names, manifest in the world, the priestly world of emanation above. On that level, the Torah is the name of God. So when Isaac and Jacob learned on the level of the Academy of Garden of Eden, they're learning names of God from the Torah of Shem on that level, where we're introduced to Shem Melchizedek as a Kohen, a priest to God above. And next week we're going to explore more on this point and why it was essential that Abraham bless God before Shem, and why Shem corrected Abraham saying, do not ever forget God first. Thank you.